Ladies and gentlemen, I really want to thank Shem Tov for the great outreach work they do here in Borough Park and for really giving me the opportunity to join in the fun. There's so many youth here to hear words of Torah. I'm really honored to be given this opportunity to join you here tonight, and I really look forward to coming here many more times in the near future, Be'ezrat Hashem. I'd also like to thank Emet Outreach, an organization we work very closely, that CHAZAQ works very closely with in Queens, New York. The work they do in Queens is amazing. The numbers are astounding. The chizuk they present is amazing. So obviously I'd like to thank them also for giving me this opportunity to speak here tonight. Morai v'Rabotai, I truly believe that it would be a great mistake to underestimate the importance of tonight's lecture. Because unfortunately, today's society gives us a very corrupt definition as to what love is all about, a very twisted outlook as to what marriage life is all about, and unfortunately, many people from our community, both non-religious and religious alike, have adapted this mindset in one way or another. And, as you can understand, they've obviously fallen into a terrible trap. On a number of occasions, I've asked a guy or a girl how their date was with so-and-so, and the guys always tell me, listen, I never really imagined my wife would look like that. And the girls always, mamash, I had a different picture of what my husband would look like. And I would think to myself, what are you sitting there imagining how your wife would look like? What are you doing? You're cutting out pictures from magazines, that's what I want my husband to look like? Where did we get such corrupt things into our brain system? How does it enter our minds? And it's davar pashut that it comes in because of today's society and particularly Hollywood. And it's a great mistake that we do. Because if Hollywood really was our role models for love and our role models as for what dating and marriage is all about, then why can't they stick with one marriage? If you look at all of them, they get married 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Why so many times do they get divorced? If they're such geniuses with these matters, why are they having so many issues? Meirov and Rabbi, it's quite obvious that we must get out of our system this whole idea of looks is what makes a marriage. We have to get out of our system that the money is what makes a marriage. There's so many more things more important. And we must be careful not to fall into this trap. Because looks and money could last for a short time and eventually dies out. That's why the divorce rate is going up nowadays. Lo aleinu. So tonight, Be'ezrat Hashem, what I'd like to do is give you the true Torah perspective on this matter, and this is something we should not take lightly. Every single one of us needs chizuk, including myself. And hopefully after the lecture is over, we can all take something home with us, something practical, to either get our mindset on dating a little straightened out, or if we're married, to better our relationships at home. I'd like to start off with 2 quotes from Shlomo HaMelech. King Solomon, as we know, is one of the wisest people of all time, an absolute genius in Torah, a true role model for Bnei Israel. Now he said many different quotes regarding women and marriage. I want to share with you 2 quotes, and we're going to analyze it, Be'ezrat Hashem. The first one is found in the book of Mishleh, the book of Proverbs. He says, Matzah Isha, Matzah Tov. One who finds a woman has found good. Now Israelis like to add, V'im lo matzah od yoter tov. If you don't find it, it's even better. But that's not part of our version, that's not part of our text, so we'll leave that out for now. But the point is, that question in of itself, that statement in of itself is very problematic. How many people here can honestly tell me that their marriage life is tov? Right? I don't see anyone raising his hands. I mean, it could be you're not married, or maybe your wife can't see you, so you're keeping your hands down. But the point is, how could he say such a blanket statement? Matzah Isha Matzah Tov. Mamash, is it really tov? You could say most of the time it's tov, many times it's tov. What does it mean Matzah Isha Matzah Tov? Now what makes this even more complicated is the fact that in his book Kohelet, he writes something that seemingly contradicts this. He writes as follows. I'm going to tell you the English translation. He says, there's nothing more bitter than death than a woman with negative qualities. Nothing more bitter than death than that. Now, didn't he just say before, Matzah Isha Matzah Tov? It can't be both ways. It can't be that you get married, it's tov, and also it could be that she's more bitter than death. That seems to really contradict each other. So now, again, when I gave this shiur to Israelis, one guy gave me a smart answer. He said, you see, the book of Mishlei was written when Shlomo Melech was much younger. So when he first got married, Matzah Isha Matzah Tov, that's how we all feel. But then later on in his life, Kohelet, he really went through a lot. You know what? Bitter than death. Okay? Another Israeli answer we'll put that on the side again. But tonight what I want to do is analyze this pasuk of Matzah Isha Matzah Tov. What does it mean? I'll give you a very different angle than you normally hear. And maybe B'ezrat Hashem it can really straighten things out in our heads. In order to understand this, we would have to go over 5,700 years ago to the time of creation. And when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, when He created the sun, the moon, the stars, food, right, vegetables, fruits, grass, trees, animals, after every single creation, the Torah tells us, Vayar Elokim Ki Tov. God saw that creation was good. Okay? However, when God created man, when He created Adam HaRishon, when He created me and you, nowhere does it say, Vayar Elokim Ki Tov. So the question is, what, a dog is good and us humans are no good? A cockroach is good and us humans are no good? How could it be Hashem says they're good and He doesn't say anything about us? This is a very famous question dealt with many commentators, and the answer they all give is as follows. All of the creations, animals, sun, foods, trees, all of the creations were created complete. They're whole. They have no mitzvot. They have no averot. They are what they are. For instance, a dog doesn't have to honor his father and mother. A cat has no kashrut, no kosher. He goes to the dumpster, eats whatever he feels like eating. Right? So whereas all of creation is complete as it is created, therefore God says, Tov, it's good, it's complete. However, mankind does not get that same proclamation. Why not? Because we have to prove to God that we are good. Now how do we prove that we are good? It says in Mishlei, Ki lekach tov natati lachem torati al ta'azovu. God says, I gave you a good teaching, a tov, a teaching that's tov. What is it? Torati al ta'azovu. Do not leave my Torah. If you as a man want to get to this point of tov, you have to keep the Torah. Animals don't have to do that. Foods don't have to do that. The only creation that has to do that is us. Therefore God says, you prove to me that you are good. Mo'ad Rabotai, we see tov means complete, something that's whole. And we can take this a step further with another quote that Shlomo Melech says. He says, Tov Shem Mishem en Tov, V'yom HaMavet Miyom Ivaldo. What does it mean? Tov Shem Mishem en Tov. A good name is better than good oil, and the day of death is better than the day of birth. That doesn't make sense, right? However, the commentators explain as follows. Tov Shem, a name that was good, that lived by the guidelines of Tov, by the guidelines of Torah, that is better than good oil. What oil are we referring to? In ancient times, they would take oil and smear it on a body so it wouldn't disintegrate, so it wouldn't decay, right? So now, says Shlomo HaMelech, a person that lives a life of Tov, a life based on the Torah, that is better for his body than all those best oils that you could smear on him. That is much better for him. A life of Tov, a life of Torah. That's why he says, V'yom HaMavet Miyom Ivaldo. The day of his death is better than the day he's born. You know why? Because now this guy lived a life of Torah. He, now that he died, is going to a better place. That is better than when he was born, because when he was born, he could have taken the path of Torah or the path of nonsense. So therefore, once he already died as a man that kept the Torah, Tov Shem Mishem en Tov, V'yom HaMavet Miyom Ivaldo. Now, Mo'ad Rabotai again, so we see Tov is coming to refer to something that's complete. And with this, we could possibly explain what Matzah Isha Matzah Tov means. Says Shlomo HaMelech, Matzah Isha Matzah Tov, you found a woman, you found good, it means you found your completion. Because a man without a wife is not complete. His neshama is not whole. Up until then, the Torah says, Lo tov heyot adam levado. It is not good for a man to be by himself. What do you mean it's not good? It means he's not complete. It means he is not complete. Ish belo isha palga gufa. A man without a woman is half. He's not complete. Matzah isha matzah tov. But once you find isha, matzah tov, you have found good. Meaning you have found you complete. You found your other half. Now, Morai v'Rabotai, with this, we could analyze the problem that we have in today's society. Because most couples will tell you they don't feel that oneness. Even the best couple in the world, they don't feel mamash one. Right? What do you mean? Me and my wife one? That doesn't really stem well with our brains. So I want to tell you something. There's nothing wrong with that per se. I'll tell you why. Because if you look in the Torah, after God created Chava, how did he create Chava? Took from Adam Arishon and created her. After God created Chava, what did Adam say? Adam says, Zot hapam etzem me'atzamai u'basar mibsari. This time I feel the bone came from me, the flesh came from me. Only this time will a man feel that way. But for the rest of the generations, no one's going to actually have that feeling that the wife is really from him. Right? The only time in history is by Adam and Chava. With us, that feeling is not as physical as him. But it's still a reality. That's what CHAZAQ tell us. Everyone has his zivug, his soulmate. She's out there. You guys are one. Even in the previous generations, we had some people that really felt it. Rav Aryeh Levine, one of the greatest tzaddikim that lived in the past generation. It's a famous story you all heard, but it's worth repeating. When he took his wife to the doctor's office, what did he tell the doctor? Doctor, my wife's foot hurts us. Right? He didn't say it hurts her, it hurts us. Now when we hear the youth hear this, this nerdy couple, the religious people, it hurts us. But Meirov has something very deep over here. Because if you look at how today's generation treat their wife or their husband, it's so totally different. I heard a story of a guy that went to the dentist. He tells the doctor, listen, how much would it cost to pull out 3 teeth? The doctor says pulling out 3 teeth is about $1,000. So listen, this is way too much. Can you give me a discount? He said, listen, if you want, you can take the assistant. It's going to cost $800 the assistant. $800, 3 teeth assistant. Is there something cheaper? He says, listen, if you want, if you do it all on the same day, not on 3 different days, we'll give it to you for $600. He's like, listen, this is also too much for me. I can't afford it. So he's like, last chance. If you want without the pain reliever, it's going to be $300. He's like, fine, book us for an appointment. He's like, you crazy? You're going to have so much pain. This is very painful. Don't worry, it's for my wife. She needs that appointment. She's gone through labor. She's went through worst pain in her life. That's the mindset we have. A wife is pregnant. Okay, she's throwing up. Hey, well, come on, cut it out. You think other people weren't pregnant before? You think this isn't happening? You're the first one to cut your finger? Where's the sensitivity? No sensitivity at all nowadays. That is something we all have to work on, Bezrat Hashem. But Lema'aseh, what we see is that a husband and wife are one soul in 2 different bodies. That's how it is. One soul in 2 different bodies. Now, soul in Hebrew is called neshama. Israelis, they call their wife neshama. Neshama, boy, come over here. Neshama, you're an idiot. Neshama, you're this. Neshama, you're that. Why? That's become the substitute name. That's how they call their wife, neshama. So they tell over a story of a guy, he was sleeping, his wife was sleeping, his kid was sleeping, and suddenly someone taps him on the shoulder. He wakes up, he's all scared, like, hey, who are you? He says, I am the Malach HaMavet, I'm the angel of death. He's like, so what do you want from me? He's like, I came to take your neshama. He's like, hold on a second. He taps his wife, neshama, they came to take you. This is probably the only time men really feel, oh, the wife is really like me. In any case, Morai v'Rabotai, before we even move on with this topic, I want to just delve in a little more to the topic of what a neshama is. We have to keep in mind, we must keep in mind, that our physical body is nothing. Doesn't mean anything. It's only a means for us to perform the mitzvot. We need hands for tefillin, to give tzedakah, legs to walk, do mitzvot, eyes to see the Torah, etc., etc. That is what our physical body is here for. The neshama is really who we are. That means if I ask you right now, how you see me right now, most of you would tell me, you see me with your eyes, right? And even though you're right, you're really wrong. Because you do not see me with your eyes. I'll explain myself as follows. Just pay close attention. Imagine if this room is pitch dark. Choshech. And now, by the wall, there's a little hole over here. And you walk over to the hole, it leads into another room which has light inside. So if I would ask you, how do you see the other room? If you would say you see with the hole, then you don't know what you're talking about. The hole can't see. You see through the hole, right? Because the hole is only a means of seeing something through that wall. Meirov, Rabbi, listen very carefully. Our soul, our neshama, is in a dark room right now. It's inside our body. It is totally dark. It only has two holes to see through. So in essence, it's not the eyes that see, it's the neshama that sees through the eyes. Because you are the neshama. The neshama is what hears, the neshama is what speaks. After a person dies, right, you could flash, take a light and flash in someone's eyes, he won't blink. You could scream in his ears, he won't jump. Right? Because the neshama is who you are. The second the neshama departs, it could see everything. There's no more boundaries. It's not inside the body, it could see everything. That is the neshama. We have to realize, as much as we're worried about our looks and about this and that, we have to realize our purpose in this world is what? To take care of our spiritual life. That is why we are here. Yes, it's true, you have to take care of yourself, look good, but that is not why we are here. That's not the purpose. Who could have the fanciest suit? Who could have the biggest house? Nothing wrong with it. But if that's what you're here in this world for, you should know you're missing the boat. You totally missed the boat. It's like they say, a mashal as follows. There were two guys that went on a trip, on a business trip. And their goal was to make $2 million. They come back in 10 days. They both went, let's just say, to France. They were there for 10 days. Their goal is to sell $2 million worth of goods. Now, after 10 days, they both come back. And their friend asked him, listen, how was your trip? What'd you do? How'd it go? The guy says, listen, my trip, financially it wasn't so good, but I'm telling you, the Eiffel Tower, the restaurants, the beach, the this, the that, chaval al-azman, you have to go. Okay? Now what about the other guy? The other guy says, listen, I didn't have time to go touring. I didn't have time to go to all these places. I didn't just make 2 million, I made 2.5 million. So if I would ask you, who fulfilled his mission in that 10-day trip? Obviously the second guy. The first guy had fun. But you know what? Now once he gets home, he realizes the losses he had. The same thing, if we come into this world only for a physical aspect, you should know you're totally missing your purpose. No one says you can't have fun, you can't go on vacation, you can't play ballet. That's not what we're saying. We're saying if that is what you think your purpose is here, then you're totally missing it. Again, the neshama is the ikar. So let us move on. We mentioned that the neshama of a husband and wife is really one in two different bodies. Now, with this, we could answer up a question that many of today's youth have. What is the big deal if we fool around before we get married? Let us have fun, let us go to the beach, let me have a girlfriend, a boyfriend. What's wrong with it? Right? We're not doing anything illegal. Once I get married, I promise I'm going to be so loyal. I'm telling you, Chava, I'm going to wear kippah, I'm going to wear tzitzit, Shabbat, everything, the whole deal. How do we answer such people? Well, after what we said right now, that everyone has his or her soulmate. Everyone is really a half without the other. It comes out that if you're doing things before you're married, you are in essence cheating on your spouse. Nothing short of that. There's something called cheating during marriage. There's something called cheating before marriage. I'll give you an example you could all relate to. In school, there's a big final coming up. So what do we do if we don't have time to study? We have kacha cheat sheets under the desk. When the teacher walks away, we quickly take it out, look at the answer, and nothing happened. Now that's called cheating during the test. Right? There are other people that are a little smarter than that. They find a way to get the test before the test. They already know all the answers. They cheat before the test. And during the test, they look all innocent. They're still holding their head like this. Oh, I can't figure it out. But really, they know already everything. Those people are what? They're cheating before the test. But between me and you, they're both cheating. One is during the test. One is before the test. Same thing over here. When you do things during marriage, society tells you it's disgusting. How can you do such a thing? But you know what? Judaism tells you there's also something called cheating before marriage. Your soulmate is out there. You got to conduct yourself in the proper fashion. That is the only way around it. And you should know, people that do things they shouldn't be doing before marriage, they're the ones that have a difficult time having stability during their marriage. Because you know what? They remember all the good times they had, and all the chevre, their friends that are still single. Allah, come out, tell your wife you have some business work to do. You come out with us. That's what happens. They can't handle being tied down to an actual relationship. So you should know, besides the fact you're cheating, you're also very less likely to have a successful marriage. Now, Meirov Rabotai, I always tell the guys that learn by us in Queens the following example. And they all give me the same exact answer. I tell them, imagine if I had a device which could detect where your spouse is, where your soulmate is. So all you singles here, I take your name down, write down the name of your mother, your father, your date of birth, where you're born. 5 minutes later, bam, the picture shows up. Right? Sounds pretty cool. Now imagine, I tell this to the guys, imagine if the picture of the girl shows up, you get a total picture of her face. You say, okay, Baruch Hashem, she's okay. You know, the 2 pimples, but she doesn't know I'm watching her. Had she known, she would have taken care of that. So now the guy's like, let's see, is she tall, is she short, what's going on over here? He zooms back a little, and he notices a hand on her shoulder. Okay, maybe she's having a nice little talk with her mother. Okay, nothing wrong with that. I see she's very... He goes a little further back, it's a very hairy hand. Okay? Maybe it's her father, right? Maybe it's her father. But then as he zooms a little further back, he sees, it's probably her boyfriend, they're watching a movie. Every single guy I gave this example to, both religious and non-religious, told me they would divorce her right then and there, before even meeting her. Why is that? Because what? My wife being touched by another guy and she lets it happen? This is going to be the mother of my kids? This is the lady I'm going to spend tens of thousands of dollars on every single year? Is this what's going to happen? So that's the mindset people have if they would see what's happening. Meirov Rabotai, I do not have this device yet. We're working on it. However, you should know it still exists. If you see 18-year-olds walking in the street holding their hands, right, all happy, these people are in essence cheating on their spouses. What are you touching another girl for? What are you touching another guy for? That is what are you doing? It's a deval pashut. If I would show them on the device, the guy would get rid of her. That's why we have to realize everything we do before marriage should be calculated. And I promise you, you will feel much better once you get married. And this is besides the forbidden things. I'm not even talking about the Torah's aspect. I'm just saying from a very social aspect. What are you doing? You know you're going to get married. What are you fooling around with other people? Once we get to the Torah aspect, then it's even more serious. We'll leave that out for now because I'm sure you guys all know about it. And Meirov Rabotai, at all times, extremely important for all of us to take this matter seriously. If you've done things wrong in the past, it's never too late. We can always improve on ourselves. You have people in the community that are here to help you. Go to them, ask them, now what? I'm struggling. He keeps calling me. She keeps calling me. She keeps bothering me. Don't be shy. You know, they're stalkers if they keep calling you. I mean, don't be shy. Ask your rabbi, ask your teacher. Try to get out of it. It's not worth it. You are really doing something wrong. Now, Meirov Rabotai, let's keep going. If we're saying that matches are made in heaven and my zivug, my soulmate is already predestined, the whole deal, whatever it is, right? So why exactly is marriage life so difficult? Right? Why do we hear so many issues and so many problems? Hey, if God predestined this, why are people having these problems? It's a very valid question, and the answer is very simple. Meirov Rabotai, we have to understand, even though the marriages, the souls are predestined, we nevertheless have to live it in this world as physical people. That's something we have to keep in touch. Keep in mind, You see, besides the fact that men and women by nature are totally different, but a husband and a wife both come from 2 different families, 2 different backgrounds, 2 different ideologies, 2 different lifestyles, and now, all of a sudden, they have a wedding, and bam, they're in a house all by themselves. It's not something simple. We all think it is easy, but it's not. Everyone has their own preferences, what kind of food to eat, what you cook, what you could do, what you can't do, no shoes on the carpet, what's the big deal, the shoes on the carpet, right? These are things you have to work with, because the physical aspect of human beings are totally different. Whereas in the Neshama, the souls both aspire for the same goals. Nevertheless, the bodies are totally different. So Be'ezrat Hashem, what I want to focus on for the next few minutes is going to be how to Be'ezrat Hashem communicate better, and how to get out of different conflicts that arise in a marriage. Now, first of all, you must keep in mind, conflicts are bound to happen. No such thing as a marriage with nothing going on. Once in a blue moon. You know, they say of Shlomo Zalman Auerbach Zatzal, at his wife's funeral, he was quoted as saying he had nothing to ask you for forgiveness for. Right? Hey, you were talking about a guy who was married 60, 70 years. A man that was careful never, ever to cause her any pain, any harm, or anything. Again, that's 1 in a million, 1 in a billion. However, 99.9% of marriages have conflicts, have arguments. We simply have to know how to deal with them. And I want to quote to you a Mishnah in Pirkei Avot. The Mishnah says as follows. It says, a machloket, an argument that is l'shem shamayim, a machloket like that will be mitkayem. It's going to have a lasting effect. It's going to have positive results. However, a machloket that is not l'shem shamayim, an argument that is not l'shem shamayim for the sake of heaven, will not have lasting results. So the Mishnah gives us examples of both types. It says in Mishnah, a machloket that is l'shem shamayim, an argument that is for the sake of heaven. What's the example? Like the argument of Hillel and Shammai. Hillel and Shammai, we know, used to have many different arguments, specifically their schools. They themselves didn't have as much, but they have arguments. And that was called l'shem shamayim. Okay, and what was the argument that's not l'shem shamayim? Says Pirkei Avot, like the argument of Korach and his followers. Now, if you really pay attention, there's something that's problematic with this statement. Because, if you notice, when the Mishnah mentioned arguments that are l'shem shamayim, and mentioned it was Hillel versus Shammai. However, when mentioning the argument that was not l'shem shamayim, it says it was Korach and his followers, doesn't mention who they had the argument against. It should have said Korach and his followers versus Moshe. Just like the first argument, it said both sides of the argument, both parties, Hillel versus Shammai. Why over here does it say Korach and his followers without mentioning who he had the argument with? So Rav Shimon Schwab says as follows, a very powerful yesod. He says the difference between the argument of Hillel and Shammai and the argument of Korach and his followers against Moshe was as follows. Hillel used to speak. They said their side of the story. Shammai, in the meantime, would listen. Once Hillel was done speaking, Shammai started speaking, and Hillel listened. They had mutual respect. They weren't there to put the other one down. They were there to find the truth, to come to a solution. Therefore, the Mishnah says, hey, Hillel versus Shammai, good machloket. However, in the case of Korach and his followers never gave Moshe a chance to make a point. They were bashing him and jumping upon him. He's giving protection to his brother. He's a faker. He's a fraud. Right? They kept attacking Moshe. They never gave him a chance. Therefore, that's not even an argument between Korach and Moshe. It's really Korach and himself. He had no interest in listening to the other side. Moshe was never given a chance. Such a machloket, there is absolutely no chance that there's going to be any positive outcome out of it. And as we know, negative things happen from that story. Meirov and Rabbi, the same could be applied to a husband and wife. We have to understand, when there is anything brewing, a husband and a wife have to know how to communicate in the proper fashion. When the wife wants to talk, the husband must give her the attention she needs, and vice versa. But the thing is that we have to analyze, men and women by nature are different when it comes to these matters. My rabbi used to always say, we should have a sign when you walk into the house, the same sign they have on top of a Sefer Torah, Da lifnei mi ata omed. When you walk into shul, you should know you're standing before God. When you walk into home, the guy should know he's standing in front of a woman, Different personality, different nature. And she should know she's standing before a man. Different personality, different nature. This is something we have to keep in mind. Guys, when they argue amongst each other, they could scream, they could fight, the next day they're drinking together. Right? A girl doesn't, she keeps it in her mind for the rest of her life. You know, an argument you have 5 years later, they still remind you about it. Remember that night? They don't forget. It just keeps going and going. And that is something that men have to remember. But now, to make these things easier, we have to know the following. Men by nature have a very, very short attention span. Very short. You could talk to them for 25 seconds, he's already thinking about his business. It's very, and you know what? You can't change that. Many times it's impossible to change. Okay? Women by nature like talking and talking. I mean, I remember just this week, I was listening to a talk show on the radio, and I was waiting for the top of the hour so they could give us the news. It was 2-3 minutes after, and she just keeps talking and the man stopped exactly at the top of the hour. But she just kept going and going. That's by nature, that's what women are. They just keep talking and talking. Now, once a woman just keeps talking and talking, don't expect your husband to listen anymore. It's not going to happen. You know, they say in Yerushalayim, there's a custom that the girls on the day of the wedding, they go to the kotel. They go to the Western Wall, they're crying and they're begging Hashem, please this, please that. They say, you know why the women have this custom on the day of their wedding? They have to get used to talking to the wall. That's what it comes down to. Because, this is so true, Morai Rabotai. That's what it's all about. But the point is, if women are going to keep bringing up other cases and other problems they had, they're going to lose it. So the secret is as follows. When you have a discussion with your husband, when something pops up, you have to know not to do it when your husband is hungry, not to do it when he's busy, not to do it when he's tired. Basically that means never do it. But listen, in all honesty, the couple has to agree that there's a certain time in the night that you have to sit down and talk. It's a chiyuv upon the husband. You know, when they're dating every night from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., they're on the phone. Oh, I miss you. Where were you today? How was school? I can't stop thinking about you. You do this for 5 months while you're dating. Suddenly you're married. Allah, what do you want? Come on. I'm busy. What's your problem? Why is that? Because once you're married, you start feeling, she's like my sister. She's like my brother. You know, that's how we look at our spouse. But we have to realize it's not that. It's not a relationship of a brother and a sister, whatever it is. It's a relationship of a husband and a wife, people that met only 20, 25 years after they were born. They have to realize that there's a lot of sensitivity involved here. You got to give each other the proper attention needed. So, Morai Rabotai, again, you have to know to pick and choose the arguments at the right time. Not when he walks home after work, not when she has a headache from the kids. You have to know when is the proper time to do it. Otherwise, the arguments are going to spiral into a whole fight and you won't talk, and we all know the story. This is a davar pashut that all we have to do is use our judgment. Baruch Hashem, we're all smart. Use your judgment. Is this the proper time for me to talk about it? Maybe it's not. I'll push it off another hour. Otherwise, if we just talk right away, it can only lead to disaster. So that's Aleph. Knowing how to deal with an argument. That's number one. Number two is as follows. This, in fact, is one of the 10 commandments of Rabbi Victor Miller on marriage. But it's not just one of them, it's the first one. And the commandment is as follows. He says, never, ever, ever get your parents involved in any disputes you have with your wife or husband. I know this contradicts the Bukhari 10 commandments of marriage, but you should know, this is a fatal error you can make. In the Bukharian world, people know, Ashkenazim, Moroccans, they all know in the Bukharian world, the mother wants to know everything that's going on. What did your wife cook today? What did she do? Did she clean up the house? Why not? What did I give my son to? Right? And the other way, right? The mother of the girl, the same exact thing. Did he treat you nicely? Did you get your flowers for Shabbat? All those flowers during the date, they're all fraud. I knew these. Morai Rabotai, you don't have to tell them any negative things. Try to keep it positive with your parents. Try to keep it positive. Otherwise, what's going to happen, chas v'shalom, is the parents will destroy the marriage. They will destroy the marriage. It happens 99% of the time. once you get the parents involved, it causes only friction. Rabbi Miller says something very interesting. He says, a couple, when they have arguments, right, they get over it after a while. Maybe a day or two, whatever. Eventually they get over it. We're not talking about abusive husbands or wives. We're talking about normal people that have basic conflicts that pop up. They could get over it. They could get over it and become very happy parents. They get over it and become happy grandparents, happy great-grandparents, and they'll even be buried next to each other in the cemetery. However, once you get your parents involved, they could end the marriage with 2 kids. Right then and there, 5 years you're married, things are going well, the mother starts getting involved, the bedding gets involved, the lawyers get involved, and the next thing you know, it's out of control. And then the husband and the wife think, maybe it's not really meant to be, maybe I really made a mistake. Finally, people admit they made a mistake, I shouldn't have married her. Why? Because you opened your mouth up to your parents. That is one of the biggest errors a person could possibly do. And therefore, we must keep in mind, even if you and your husband or you and your wife have a machloket, you have an argument, 10 minutes before Shabbat and you're about to go to their house, your parents' house, you cover up the face. Pretend nothing happens. Because if the girl's going to go to her parents' house right before Shabbat, right, and the husband goes to shul, the mom is like, what happened? What's going on? Oh, no, nothing. Okay, don't tell me nothing. Tell me what's going on. And then she starts opening up to her. And what else happened? And she opens up even more. And the next thing you know, the mother's like, what? She's married 7 years? And this is what happened the past 7 years? Right? And then the mother, rightfully so, interferes. Why do I say rightfully so? Listen very carefully. You have to understand. A mother and a father put their time and their effort into their children. Mamash, from the day they're born, they lose sleep, wake up in the middle of the night 5 times, feed, change a diaper, tuition, college, this, that. For 25, 30 years, whatever it is, they're mamash pampering their children, they're helping them out, and suddenly they marry them off to some guy that's not treating her properly, right? They're thinking, what did I put all this effort into her for? And therefore they innocently, not realizing they're causing harm, innocently start sticking their nose into other people's business. Morai v'Rabotai, big mistake. Never, ever get your parents involved. I keep repeating it, I know who I'm talking to here. Never, ever get your parents involved. The only thing you get them involved with, Mom, I get a mazal tov, I'm 3 months pregnant, shh, that's it. Right? Nothing more than that. Don't tell them my husband said this and yesterday when he came home from work he was so angry he threw the keys down. You won't believe the eyes, what eyes he had. Mamash like a murderer. That's not needed to be said. Keep your parents happy. You want your parents to live long? Tell them only good things. For instance, a girl, if your husband takes you out on to a restaurant, call up your mom. Mom, you won't believe it. What a restaurant. High class. You spent $80 on me. It was amazing. I felt like I was dating again. Now the mother of the girl is like, wow, what a domot I have. This guy is good. But now the guy, however, can't tell his mother he took her out to a restaurant. She's like, what a kala I have. What is she doing? She should be cooking. The guy should be telling her some other things. Right? You guys have to know how to play this smart. You can't be stupid with these things because it'll only lead to problems. That's how mothers think. You have to understand. The greatest mothers, they always like to think that their son is married to the worst girl, their girl's married to the worst guy. That's how they're thinking. Therefore, it's incumbent upon us to make the right decisions. Speak in benachat, and you'll see your parents will have less stress. They won't be so worried about you. Everyone's going to be happy, and then you won't have problems down the road. Chas v'shalom. So again, we have to know when to argue, how to argue, and keep our mouth shut. No parents involved. And if chas v'shalom things do go out of control, that's what we have rabbis for. That's why you have your teachers in school that keep in contact with you, not parents. Parents can help you out for other things. Dad, I need a $20,000 loan, here you go. That's what your parents are there for. More than that, you stay away from them. Now, Morai v'Rabotai, besides knowing how to argue, we have to stay away from something that I call the dafka game. The dafka game is as follows. Dafka in Hebrew means purposely, dafka. The husband does something the wife does not like. I told you not to do it. Why'd you do it? Right? And the guy's like, take it easy. Okay, don't worry. I won't do it again. The next day, he does it again. So now, the tendency of the wife is, okay, I'll do something he doesn't like. I'll show him what it feels like. And now they're having this whole dafka game going back and forth. He's doing what she doesn't want. She's doing what he doesn't want. And you're having here a marriage that is what? Spiraling downwards. One of these two, either the man or the woman, has to say, it's over. I'm going to keep doing my chores. And eventually, you'll see he's going to follow suit or she's going to follow suit. If you're going to keep going back and forth, I'll show him, I'll show him again, then all that's going to do is cause issues, and then you guys are getting yourself into a big mess, chas v'shalom. So, keep away from the dafka game. And I'll give you an example as to why this is very important, because based on what we said, that the husband and wife are one, right? This is very understandable. Listen carefully. Imagine if you are cutting vegetables, right? You go chop, 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 and tach, you cut your finger. Right? All over the vegetables, ew. So if you work at a pizza shop, you wash up the vegetables, you serve it. But at home, you throw it out, right? So you throw it out, you put the Band-Aid, and then, imagine, again, the right hand chopped off the left hand. So now, what happens is, your right hand has a terrible itch right by the wrist. Now it can't itch itself, it needs the help of the left hand, right? So could you imagine the left hand saying, you need my help, I'll show you, you cut my finger. Obviously that's absurd, it wouldn't happen. It's the same exact body. You won't do dafka and not itch the right hand, right? Your wife messes up, your husband messes up. What, you going to start doing dafka? Remember you guys, you guys are one. That's what you are. Don't cause little petty fights over nothing. It is not worth the problems of Shalom Bayit. Let's take this even further. I'll tell you a personal experience that happened when I was like 16 or 17 years old. It's traumatized me to this day. Basically, I was sitting at a pizza shop with one of my friends. I haven't seen him in a while. We're sitting there, we're eating pizza, french fries, whatever it is. And the couple next to us was an Israeli couple with like a 2 or 3 year old son. Now, they weren't in the best mood. You could see they weren't too happy. The guy waited online for pizza for a good 15-20 minutes. Then finally, when he came with the pizza, the wife was like, you forgot the french fries. You didn't tell me french fries. You forgot. Go back. So he goes back for another 10-15 minutes. So that didn't make him too happy. Oh Hashem, he gets the french fries. He sits down. Now me and my friend are watching this. We're trying to control ourselves from laughing. Right? So now the wife tells him, Tavita ketchup. Don't forget the ketchup. Right? He's like, you're telling me to get the ketchup? I stood online twice, and you're just sitting here doing nothing. I'm doing nothing. It's a pizza shop, remember. I am doing nothing. You think I'm sitting here watching TV? The kid is driving me crazy. They both refuse to bring the ketchup. Okay, not a big deal. In the meantime, they eat. You can see they're not enjoying the french fries, because french fries without ketchup is not so good. So now, the husband gets up. This tough Israeli guy. He said, Tishmi, listen. I'm going to the bathroom. I'm back in 2 minutes. I want the ketchup on the table. Oh, now the whole pizza shop's like this. Whoa, what's going to happen now? You know? So now, the guy goes, the woman, tough Israeli, she's not giving in so easily. She refuses. She sits down. She's minding her own business. The kid's driving her crazy. She's walking around with the kid. He's by the bubble gum machine. So now my friend, the genius that he is, takes 3 packets of ketchup, throws on the table. So now, the guy's in the bathroom, and the girl, the woman, is with the son running around. The guy comes back out of the bathroom, feeling all good about himself. I won again. Okay, he sees the ketchup, he sits down, starts dipping his french fries in the ketchup, feeling all good. A minute later, the wife comes back. Oh, she sees the ketchup. We could see her thinking, I won again. And now, they're both sitting there thinking they both won. And they're both enjoying the meal, and they're talking. How was your day? How was your day? Baruch Hashem. And why? What was stopping them from doing that? Who is getting the ketchup? Well, stupidity, Morai Rabotai. Now the only thing is, I don't really know what happened when they got home. What could have happened is as follows. I'm just trying to imagine. The guy, sitting and watching TV. Now, of course, the wife can't watch the same show he's watching. She has her own TV to watch. And he's like, Shmi, Neshama. Remember Neshama, right? Neshama, please get me a cup of Coke. And he's like, no. You got me the ketchup. I get the Coke. What? You got the ketchup. I get the Coke. No, what? Next thing you know, a whole machloket starts all over again. I really hope that did not happen. If it did, it's not my fault. We just tried our best. But Morai Rabotai, once again, Don't let these petty little things disturb your marriage. If you see that your wife is not conducting properly, or your husband's not doing things properly, just be the mature one. Go do it. And don't come afterwards. See, I'm mature this time. You're so immature. Don't do that. Go do it casually. Do what you have to do. Sit down. And the next thing you know, things go very smoothly. If you're going to keep doing things, kacha, bedavka, you'll see the only losers are you. You're going to be the only loser, and then you're going to come back home, and you're going to see everything's going to spiral down to a huge mess. Achitov, stand up and say, I'm putting an end to it. Morai v'Rabotai, we have a few more minutes. There's a famous story with the Chavetz Chaim. The Chavetz Chaim is one of the greatest sages of all time. They say that he once built a sukkah. Now, there's two versions of the story. One version is how the women and the rabbis tell it over. The second is how I tell it over to the guys I learned in my yeshiva. So, two different versions. You decide what you believe is true. The Chavetz Chaim built a sukkah in one corner of the porch, whatever it is. And his wife comes like, my dear husband, good job, but I really prefer the sukkah on the other side. Okay, the Chavetz Chaim, without putting up a fight, no problem, takes down the sukkah, builds it on the other side. A few minutes later, the wife comes back, and she's like, my dear husband, I'll be honest with you, you were right, I really like it on the other side a little better. Okay, again, without putting up a fight, he put it up on the other side. Now, when I heard this story, the rabbi said, the lesson is, just do what your wife asks you to do. Okay, it could be. The way I understood it is, don't listen to your wife the first time, she'll change her mind either way. The point is, Morai v'Rabotai, again, that's only a joke. Doesn't mean, Ilan has a better version of the story. But the point is, the Chavetz Chaim could have just put up a fight. I told you that was the best spot. He kept quiet. And of course the wife realized, you know what? Look what a husband I have. He really does so much for me. And can you imagine how much more respect she had for him? And how she thought twice the next time before asking him to change things. But the thing is, if you learn how to speak when it is needed, and how to keep quiet when it's better to keep quiet, you will see that your marriage life will be so much better. No question about it. And I'd like to end off with a lesson for the ages from the first couple in the history of the world. Adam and Chava. This is an amazing thing. I can't recall where I heard this and who was the rabbi that said this. It's a rabbi who lived in the 1700s. I don't remember his name. But listen to this. Very beautiful chidush. He says, if you pay attention in the Torah, you can open up the Chumash in your house, you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll pay attention, Chava was called Isha, the woman, throughout the Torah. Ha'isha did this. The woman took from the tree. The Nachash told the woman to do this. And the woman gave her husband to eat from the tree. Right? And after this whole story happened, and after Hashem gave the punishments to the woman, and the punishment to the man, and the punishment to the Nachash, after that, the Torah finally tells us, Adam called his wife Chava. Now why did he call her Chava? Says the Torah, Ki em lekol chai, because she is the mother to all life. Now what's the significance of this? Why, throughout the storyline, we're never told about her name, and Adam never gave her a name. After the whole story of the tree and the eating and everything else, finally he calls her Chava, you're the mother of all life. Listen very carefully, it's a big lesson. Morai v'Rabotai, after this story, what did Chava cause to come into the world? She caused death to come into the world. If I were Adam, I would call her Mituta, the mother of death. Right? And here he is, after this whole story, what does he call her? Mother of life. Why is that? Adam had the opportunity to destroy this marriage, to destroy her. You brought death. It is you, it is you, it is you. And she would have been broken the rest of her life. What did he do? He opted out and said, you know what? You're Chava. You are the mother of life. Morai v'Rabotai, like I said, conflicts are bound to happen. It's going to happen. You have to be ready for it. But you have to know, don't cause the other side to feel like a dirtbag because of it. She made a mistake. She scratched your Lexus. Don't say, I told you, you're not driving anymore, you're irresponsible. What is the big deal? Let's not cause major issues out of these things. Morai v'rabotai, Adam called his wife Chava after she brought death into the world. Alachat kama v'kama, when little petty things happen. And petty things means even a major thing, but in comparison to death, they're all petty things. Morai v'rabotai is something we have to keep in mind for the rest of our lives. And I'll tell you one thing. This is not something that happens overnight. You're not going to suddenly get married and she gets you upset and you keep quiet. That's not going to happen. It is impossible. I'll tell you why. You see, people fight with their brother, their sister, their mother, their father, their friends. Why is that? Because they're used to them. You're around them for such a long time, you feel comfortable screaming at each other once in a while. Now when people are dating, right, everyone thinks, wow, she is the one. I'm going to love her for the rest of her life. He is the one. We're going to be the perfect couple. Nothing wrong is going to happen. Give it 2 weeks. 2 weeks and you'll see things popping up. If you're going to think that marriage life is going to have a smooth road, that's only if both of you get killed the day after the wedding. That's the only way. Otherwise, they're going to be the bumps on the road. And we have to remember, in order to be able to control our emotions once we're married, we got to start working right now before we're married. You see, we're used to screaming at our sister, our father, our mother, our brother, etc. If we are going to keep screaming at them now, right, and we don't work on controlling our emotions, then you should know one thing. Eventually the relationship between you and your spouse will be the same as you and your brother or sister. Because that's how it is. You get used to each other, you feel comfortable talking against each other. If you're not going to work on controlling your emotions when it comes to an argument with your father or mother, you should know that you won't be able to do it with your wife. Because eventually, as time goes by, that's how you start feeling towards each other. And that is a major mistake. Aleph, because we mentioned that you really are one. That's A. But B, because marriage life is much more sensitive than brotherhood and fatherhood and motherhood. Because you know what? You could decide not to talk to your brother, but he's still your brother. With marriage, there's so much more at stake. You have to make sure things are cleared up. And the only way to do this, if Bezrat Hashem, we work on ourselves now. And one last thing for anyone that may be married here. I've been married for 10 years, things aren't so good. How do we improve it? Right? I mean, we're used to screaming at each other, we're used to having these issues. Is there a way of stopping it? There's a way to do everything. If you really want to control yourself, it is within your power to control yourself. What this means is as follows. Imagine if you and your wife are home, and you're having a little argument, mamash, you this, you that, I can't believe you said that, and you mamash are ready to tear each other apart. And suddenly, in the heat of the argument, someone knocks on the door. What happens is, everything stops. The guy opens the door, hey, how are you? John, go get some water, go get some tea, get some fruits, vegetables, and they're talking to each other nice and calmly. What happened? A second ago, you're ready to pound her head off, right? But the reason is, if you want to control yourself, it's within your power to control yourself. That is the secret to life. I remember when I was much younger, about 17 or 18, I had the zechut to go to Rabbi Matatyahu Salomon's house in Lakewood. I was on a Shabbat, and Rabbi took him there. He, in case you don't know, is one of the biggest rabbis in America and probably in the world. He is the Mashgiach of Lakewood Yeshiva. A few thousand students, all the major issues go through him, all the questions go through him. Mamash et tzaddik yesod olam. So now when we went to him, he discussed a very interesting topic. He asked the following question. He said, if someone comes over to you and asks you to do him or her a favor, would you say yes right away? Even if it's your best friend, you wouldn't say yes right away. You would say, I'll be more than happy to do it, but what do you want me to do? That is the logical way of conducting oneself. So if that is the case, how could it be that when God offered us the Torah, what did the Jewish people say? Na'aseh v'nishma. Yeah, we'll do it. And then we'll hear what you want us to do. They didn't use the basic principle, think twice before you speak. How did they agree to do something that they may not be able to do? And the answer he gave was very basic, but it's a foundation in Jewish life. Said the rabbi as follows. He said, if God commands you to do something, He would give you the ability to do it. In other words, if I come to you and ask you to do me a favor, you may not be able to do it. I want you to come with me to New Jersey on a work day and to paint my house. Hey, I gotta work, right? But if Hashem says, I want you to put on tefillin every morning, right? I want you to do this and keep Shabbat, and I want you to do that, it is within you to do it. If God says, don't be jealous, right? Oh, it's an emotion. How can you tell me I have to be jealous? If God says, don't do it, you could do it, right? You could hold yourself back. Same thing with anger, same thing with any other emotion we have. If there's a midah ra'ah, if there is a bad character trait we have, don't just say, that is me, that's who I am. If you say that's who I am, you're basically saying, God never gave me the possibility to fix it up. Hashem gave every single one of us the koach to elevate ourselves to the stature of Adam, a complete man, to make us into Adam Tov. However, if we're going to be laid back and say, that's who I am, that's where the problems begin. We must all work on ourselves. Again, the married people, start from today. You go home, try to control your emotions. The singles, work on yourself today. If you want to have a successful marriage, the divorce rate today is booming. Lo aleinu. Forget about the non-religious, which is terrible. Even amongst the observant, it's starting to creep up as well. This is something we all have to work on. We have to work on to become tov. Tov in terms of our what should we call it? Our chovot in this life, and our obligations in life. We have to work on that. That means Torah, more Torah classes. Shiurim here, go there. CHAZAQ, we have many events coming up in Queens. Go there. We have your emails on our list. Come in, enjoy Torah, stay away from trouble, don't cheat on your spouse before marriage. Work on yourself, and you'll see, Be'ezrat Hashem, not only will you have a better life, you'll be living a much happier life. And I want to bless all of you. Those of you that are single, Be'ezrat Hashem, you should find your right zivugim b'merabi amenu. And those of you that are married, Be'ezrat Hashem, you should have true shalom bayit. If you need children, you should have children, Be'ezrat Hashem. And we should all be zocheh to see b'yagot tzedek. Amen v'amen. Morai v'rabotai. Just quickly, I want to tell you guys, I don't know if the Brooklyn people are aware of this, there is a phenomenal website that is available for absolutely free of charge. Thousands of dollars have been put into it, but it's all for you, the community. TorahAnytime.com. Log on, enjoy dozens of rabbis, dozens of lectures on every single topic. Don't waste your time on the internet doing shtuyot. Log on to the site. Support it if you can, and Be'ezrat Hashem, b'zchut all the Torah that we spread, we should all be zocheh to see b'yagot tzedek. Amen ve'amen.